Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another third stimulus check unemployment benefits extension update. So as most of you guys know is that in one of the last recent updates that we made a video that's, I believe it's also called something around like great news changes, which I also put at the very end screen as well. We talked a little bit about how one of the great news is that there are now states that are trying to take action in order to hopefully at least make the attempt to try to reverse that decision about unemployment ending. I believe we talked specifically about Indiana in that video, so definitely check that out. Huge thanks if you guys have already checked it out, because this is maybe a little bit of a follow-up video to that. Because the really great news to share maybe in today's video is that we now officially have a new update about what's been going on with that case. We also have now received word that there are even more states now that are trying to take action, whether this is in the form of a lawsuit of some kind, or even just in some kind of action to basically try to fight the system. I do have updates, of course, about Indiana. I do have a brief update about Georgia. I believe something about Florida, something about Maryland. Interestingly, something about Illinois. So Illinois is a state that's thankfully safe at this time, so that's the really great news. But there's actually a new bill that's going on there, which we're going to talk about, that might even put more money in just people's pockets, and I think that's what we care about. So I'm going to put an outline maybe in the description about what's going on in every state, so you guys can kind of bounce around the video. Although I highly recommend that even if you are not from any of the states that we're going to talk about, to maybe watch through, because what's happening in each of these states is something that can potentially happen or carry over into the other states, because if they are able to carry through with the lawsuit, even if, let's say for this lawsuit, as we mentioned in the last video, is that a lot of times it's not necessarily, of course we hopefully, are able to win the lawsuit, but it's more about that the fact that we at least have the lawsuit, it can potentially at the very least maybe delay the length or delay the time frame about how long unemployment is going to last. And I think at the end of the day, it just shows that at least we tried and we took a chance, and maybe this will inspire a lot of other states. So even if you are from another one of the states, to maybe potentially follow along, or at least to be inspired to know what's actually physically out there. So we're going to talk all about that in today's video, but as always, real fast, before we begin, remember to smash the like button, because we are talking about something that's hopefully hopeful at the end of the day. Consider subscribing if you guys are brand new here and hitting the bell for similar videos. I have a lot of other videos I'll put in at the end. Huge thanks if you guys have been here for a while now. It's always greatly appreciated. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about honestly just really anything at all, especially maybe by the end about, yeah, just anything. So with that being said, let's get this video started. Okay, so when it comes to a lot of the lawsuits is that the first state that was finally able to have an actual official lawsuit going on, which is Indiana. The great news is we've officially now have word is that the case is going on. Now we don't have the results or answers, but what we do know is that yesterday, or if you are watching this into the future, specifically Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021, they actually had a hearing for that case. It hasn't been released to the public about what actually ended up happening, but the idea is that we now officially have the hearing, and there's now officially a case that's going on to maybe try to reverse the decision. The sad thing is that of course Indiana is one of those states that had already been set to end early. However, if they are able to carry through with this, it's potential that they can maybe retro or bring back the program, or in a lot of other states that have not yet ended, to maybe potentially try to continue it. Now, we interestingly also have an update about the state of Georgia, where there's a lawsuit going on there now. So Georgia is a little bit of an interesting story, because in Georgia right now is that there's a lawsuit going on there, and that while Georgia is one of the states that's set to end early, the lawsuit that's going on there, it actually does not relate to unemployment ending early. But what's going on right now is that there are several people in Georgia that's trying to bring a lawsuit, because Georgia went through a lot of delays or things that happened with their unemployment, whether it was because of people either receiving delays, having trouble getting through, being denied unemployment when they felt they should have been getting unemployment, or related to the amount. So the idea what's going on in Georgia is that there's a lawsuit going, or several lawsuits that are going on now there, in order to try to sue the unemployment office to try to restore the system or to kind of correct or even pay out money as a semi-damage to it. Now, the hope is that the fact that a lawsuit exists to the unemployment department, even if it is not related to unemployment ending early, is the hope that maybe if the fact that there's a lawsuit going on now, maybe they can just open another lawsuit to try to challenge the decision of what's going on there. Now, in a lot of the other states, for example, like in Maryland, there's also a lot of interesting stuff that's happening. So, for example, in Maryland right now, at this time period, there is no lawsuit in Maryland. However, what's going on is that there's actually a lot of protest that's happening, that's especially going on in a lot of local news. But the idea is that there's a lot of protest that's starting to happen there now in order to maybe try to fight and convince Governor Hogan, who is the governor of Maryland, to try to reverse the decision. There's a lot of belief that while there is no current lawsuit there right now, there are people challenging the system, and that there may be, the keyword is maybe, a lawsuit that may open there soon. Of course, this is not confirmed yet. We will probably have to wait for more info. Maybe if you guys are brand new here, consider subscribing if that video or if just more updates ends up just coming out in general. And actually the reality is that actually a lot of states and cities right now are having their own protests. It just so happens that Maryland is one of the ones that's the most publicized when it comes to the news. I do know, for example, is that in Florida, for example, that's also one of the states that's having a lot of protests to try to reverse the unemployment decision. Now, one thing that is interesting about Florida is that there is now a petition going on in Florida. I don't have the full details because I will admit is that I believe that the petition and what's happening there is on a much smaller scale, certainly compared to like what's going on in Indiana and the other states that we talked about. However, the idea is that I believe that in Florida right now there is a petition going on in order to try to maybe convince Governor DeSantis, who is the governor there, to maybe try to reverse the decision. I will admit that this is probably one of the less larger cases that's going on, but of course at this point anything can change. I mean, I think that, for example, in Indiana, the lawsuit that happened in Indiana, it came out pretty suddenly, and technically the unemployment ending in general also happened very suddenly. So of course the idea is that anything can really change, and it can happen really fast too, and I think that's really the big idea to know about it. Now, there are interestingly also still other great news that is happening actually in certain states that are actually planning to keep their unemployment, so even greater news about it. But the idea is that in Illinois and several other states, but we're going to use Illinois just because they're the most recent state on the news, there is now a new bill that's being put onto the table, and I'm pretty sure in some states might have even already been approved, or certainly is pretty relatively far in the process, that they're trying to create a bill this applies to very specific people. But if you are someone that happens to be on unemployment, but you are overpaid unemployment of some kind, the most common example or reason could be, for example, if let's say you happen to be on unemployment, maybe let's say you got on unemployment in the beginning of May, maybe they approved your unemployment at the very end of May, but maybe they actually paid you retro payments all the way back in April. There are also some people that maybe had certain corrections that happened within their unemployment program, where the idea is that they were pretty much just paid more on unemployment than that they were originally able to receive. And so some states were originally planning to try to make people to pay back the unemployment. The great news is that in Illinois and certain other states, they are now actually trying to create a new bill now to try to change that. So if you happen to be someone that was overpaid unemployment, you can now keep that unemployment, because now it becomes a thing where it's kind of on them. They paid me that extra money, which is a really, really great thing. And, I think, it's fair to say after everything going on, hopefully we're able to keep it as a part of it. So the idea is that if you were overpaid unemployment, now, thanks to some of this stuff, you may potentially be able to keep it, and you don't have to necessarily pay back the overpayment. But the idea generally right now is that there are a lot of states that are taking action. There are thankfully states that are hopefully able to continue to keep unemployment, that may even be doing something even more. And then there's also a lot of other states that are taking action in order to try to reverse the decision, whether this is on an even larger scale, like an actual physical lawsuit, or whether it's through a protest, or whether it's through a petition, or at the very least, maybe there may be even more states that can maybe use this as a spark of some inspiration to what can potentially be done and actually try to carry through with it. But as always, that's pretty much what I really just wanted to share in today's update. If you guys found something insightful, maybe consider smashing the like button if you guys haven't done so, especially because at least there's progress that's being made. Consider subscribing for more, and as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, honestly, about really just anything at all. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well. Hopefully more are able to either stay on or at least make the attempt to try to fight or challenge what's going on now. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.